Hello, and today's learning target is I can calculate the slope between 2 points. So we are going to be continuing our study of slope today, but instead of finding the slope from a line on the graph, we are going to calculate the slope between 2 coordinate points. And there is a formula for this. It is m equals, and m is a variable that we will use to represent slope. So m equals y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So when you say the little 2, the proper way to write that, or proper way to say that, I should say, is y sub 2 and y sub 1, x sub 2 and x sub 1. But you could just say, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, as long as you know what those values mean. And this formula would be really good to memorize. We will use it a lot, so the more you know it, the easier it'll be to use it. And so this y2 and y1 is the second y coordinate listed and then the first y coordinate listed. x2 and x1 is x2 is the second x coordinate listed, x1 is the first x coordinate listed, and we'll talk about that when we go through some examples. But this formula makes sense because it follows from our original definition of slope, in that we had m equals the change in y's over the change in x. And again, change means to subtract, right? Or the difference in, and difference means subtract. So let's put this into practice a bit. Let's find the slope between the following sets of ordered pairs. And we'll remember the ordered pair goes x comma y. So if we look at this first example here, I see 3 comma 6, and 4 comma 8. So what I'm going to do is label these ordered pairs, x1, y1, x2, y2, because that first ordered pair is the first ordered pair I'm given, and it's x1, y1, meaning it's the first x coordinate I see and the first y coordinate I see for 3 comma 6. For 4 comma 8, that's the second ordered pair I see, so that's the second x value I see and the second y value I see. So if we use the formula m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, I'm going to see what I've already labeled as, y2 and y1 and x2 and x1. And it actually doesn't matter which ordered pair you would say is the first ordered pair versus which is the second ordered pair, because you could reverse these and you would get the same answer. And I'll show you what that looks like, but you don't need to do that for every problem because it would just take a while. So if I follow the formula, y2 is 8. So I'm just going to plug the numbers into this formula here. So 8 minus 6, because y2 minus y1, over x2 minus x1, so 4 minus 3. And 8 minus 6 is 2, 4 minus 3 is 1. So here, m equals 2. Now if I flip it around and go the opposite way and say that this ordered pair is really the second and this is the first, I would get 6 minus 8 over 3 minus 4. So what that gives me is 6 minus 8 is negative 2, 3 minus 4 is negative 1, and negative 2 over negative 1, the two negatives cancel out, and I get m equals, I still get m equals 2. So you get the same answer either way you decide to label your ordered pairs. I always just like to label the first ordered pair I see as x1 and y1, and then the second ordered pair I see x2 and y2. Now if we look at this second ordered pair here, I'm going to label x1, y1, x2, and y2. And then I'm going to say 4 minus 2, following the formula, over negative 6 minus negative 2. And when I see two negatives in a row like this, those together make a positive. So I can go ahead and change that, chop to a positive. So 4 minus 2 is 2. Negative 6 plus 2 is negative 4. And 2 over negative 4 simplifies to be negative 1/2. So here, m equals negative 1/2. Let's take a look at a few more examples. So let's recall here. The formula again is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to go ahead and label x1, y1, x2, y2. And now using the formula, excuse me, I get negative 5 minus 3 over 6 minus 6. And negative 5 minus 3 is negative 8. 6 minus 6 is 0. So negative 8 divided by 0 is undefined. And if you try typing that in your calculator, you'll get error. And that means, not possible, it's undefined. And if we think about this from what we know about slope, for example, the slope of a graph that we did the other day, we practiced the other day, if you were to actually graph these ordered pairs, if we go over 6 up 3, and then over 6 down 5, that would make a straight up and down line, a vertical line. We know that a vertical line also has a slope or an undefined slope. So if you can visually think about that or plot those points on your notes right now to see what that looks like, you know from what we had practiced before about slope and talked about before that would be an undefined slope. Let's move on to the next example. So let's look at this next example. I'll label x1, y1, x2, y2. And y2 would be negative 5 minus y1, which is 5, all over 4 minus negative 2. And that together is a plus, so chop, chop. And I get negative 10 over 6. And we want to simplify our fractions whenever we can. And negative 10 and 6 can both be divided by 2. So what this would simplify to be would be negative 5 over 3. Now that is our slope. We're going to stop right there. We do not want to change this to a mixed number, and we do not, or like negative 1 2/3, or we do not want to change it to a decimal. We want to leave it as it is because this goes back to the rise over run idea that we go down 5 and then to the right 3. So we want to keep that idea of leaving our slopes as fractions, and particularly improper fractions, but making sure to simplify that fraction when we can. All right, let's take a look at the next example. Okay, so with this next example, I'm going to go ahead and label right away x1, y1, x2, and y2. And y2 would be negative 7 minus negative 7, and two negatives chop, chop make a plus, and negative 2 minus 6. And negative 7 plus 7 is 0 over negative 2 minus 6 is negative 8. Now this example is a little bit different than the one we went through before, but we do see another 0. But 0 divided by any number is 0. And if you plug that in your calculator, that will also confirm that your answer is 0. And if we think about this visually, with these two ordered pairs, where these are in a coordinate plane is I would go to the right 6, down 7, and then for the second ordered pair, I'd go to the left negative 2 and down 7. So if we connect that, that would be a horizontal line or a flat line, and we know from reviewing slope that also is a slope of 0, right? Any flat line or horizontal line is a slope of 0. Okay, let's take a look at this last example. Okay, for this example, I'm going to go ahead and label y2 minus y1, or excuse me, x1 and y1 and x2 and y2, and remember the formula is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So here I have negative 2 minus 2 all over 3 minus 1, and I get negative 4 over 2. And that simplifies just to negative 2. And we want to simplify that because that comes out, to be an integer value answer, which would be something that we could definitely graph for that slope. So we'll leave the slope here as negative 2. We do not need to put it over 1. We can just leave it as the number negative 2. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. Be prepared to answer a question here following the end of this video. Good luck.